Hi, I'm Ray Salisbury, photography tutor from Nelson, New Zealand, one of the most beautiful nations on the planet. I've been shooting the spectacular scenery of our compact country since I was a kid. Today I shoot images for stock libraries and magazines. I love getting away from the frenetic pace of urban living into the wilderness. Photographing the landscape puts me right in the zone where I feel alive, where I can follow my creative instincts and craft some stunning compositions. Come with me, look over my shoulder as I explore our most iconic locations and strive to create original images. Find out what camera settings to use for each location and what filters you need. Learn how to edit your shots in Photoshop like a pro, so you feel good about your photography. In this episode, Ray's camera is soaked by a nasty jet boat pilot. Ray is blessed with a spectacular sunrise at Nugget Point. And in the deep south, the lush walls of McLean Falls make for beautiful images. Good morning, it's Ray here on another episode from our autumn road trip to central Otago. We're just leaving Wanaka and we're going off to some bathins and definitely down into the Catlins. The weather's a bit cloudy, so we'll see what we can do. Today was mainly travel. Driving out of the lakeside town of Wanaka, we stopped by Puzzling World, where time seems to go backwards. And Lynette helped prop up the Leaning Tower of Wanaka. We took the familiar road south, past fields full of sheep, along empty roads towards the tourist mecca that is Queenstown. We had a break by the rocky shores of the Otago River to see tourists on a thrilling jet boat ride. This modern jet-propelled watercraft was developed by a sheep farmer, Sir Bill Hamilton, way back in the 1950s. Today, the rivers around Queenstown are buzzing with these highly manoeuvrable jet boats, which can reach speeds of up to 50 knots. My camera's got soaked. I think it's time to go. Late in the afternoon, we manoeuvred our car alongside Lake Wakatipu, down to the fertile farming flats of Southland. We were starting to get tired of the constant travel and early mornings. But eventually we arrived on the Catlins Coast and found some cheap accommodation. It was time for a good night's sleep. Well, we've just driven all the way from Wanaka to Arrowtown to Queenstown, Gore, and we've just arrived at Hillview Camp in the Catlins. Good morning, it's Ray here. I've just got up really early at 5 o'clock, had a shower, cup of tea, and I've driven the almost 20 kilometres out to Nugget Point on a narrow, windy road along the coast. And I think from memory, the walking track's about 5 minutes out to the lighthouse, and I'm going to climb a hill and try and get a good view looking down on it, waiting for the sunrise, waiting for that magic hour when everything lights up. The sky's clear, I'm feeling good. Let's go and do this thing. That's the view that we're looking at. Beautiful, looking across the Pacific Ocean with the nuggets, the lighthouse. So these are all the other photographers trying to get the same shot as me. But I've got a better shot, I can see more nuggets. There's a new guy arriving. Man, there must be a dozen people here at least. So this is where I'm sitting, just right on the rocky perch on top of this knife edge ridgeline. 2 more photographers arrived, that's about 10. Soon we'll probably have a dozen. And the sun's about to break the horizons. So I'm really hoping it's going to be an awesome spectacle. I've added an ND grad filter to the sky to darken it, balance the tones a bit, and compress the dynamic range. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, is that any good? Yep, that's just what I wanted. That's just what I wanted, yep. Okay, there's the sunrise here. I'm videoing now. On video, there's the sun, it's beautiful, and I like the way the sun is reflected on the water. What I'm doing is adding some stops of light here, adding some more light, just by using exposure compensation and overexposing by one stop each time, then I'll get more light in the scene. Here's my finished photo after editing in Photoshop. Next, I reframed my composition to exclude the sun once it fully crested the horizon. To mitigate the effects of lens flare, I pointed the DSLR further to the right and zoomed in for a closer crop. See how I've placed the lighthouse and the horizon on the rule of thirds. And to finish off, I filmed a decent tutorial. Now, getting up early is par for the course for the serious landscape aficionado. Like all worthwhile pursuits in life, it takes effort. No pain, no gain. I must admit, it is a gamble. I really didn't know what to expect when I came here, despite checking the weather forecast. But it's this uncertainty, this not knowing, that makes landscape photography so worthwhile and so addictive. Behind me is the iconic landmark of Nugget Point Lighthouse, and in this thundering Pacific Ocean below are a dozen rock stacks called the Nuggets. And when the sun strikes the horizon, they all light up magically. In the sea below are seals swimming around, and there's lots of wildlife. It's truly a magical place out here on the Catlins Coast of the South Island of New Zealand. With the tutorial done and dusted, I had the chance to fly my drone. Place of primitive beauty, where humans are reduced in proportions by a huge wild seascape. The lighthouse was constructed in 1870 with quarried stone, and the actual tower is only 10 metres high, but it stands an impressive 76 metres above the raging Pacific Ocean below. We now headed further south in search of more photo opportunities. In the tiny town of Owaka, we discovered this quirky collection of teapots. And my wife went barking mad.
I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here's my handle, here's my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Just tip me over and pour me out.
Oh no, I can't handle this craziness. Let's get out of this place. We drove on to McLean Falls, where we filmed another tutorial. If you ever visit New Zealand, you'll be struck with how green the landscape is. But that's because how wet the weather is, especially down here on the Catlins Coast. The Catlins region is spotted with island-like sanctuaries of beautiful remnant native forest. Now the coast is really wild and rugged, but the interior features some beautiful waterfalls like McLean Falls. It's only about 10 minutes walk, so let's do it. It took us 20 minutes to penetrate the lush rainforest on an easy path. The sky overhead was filling with clouds blocking the sun, giving us diffused light. These overcast conditions were perfect for shooting long exposures, especially of waterfalls. At the top waterfall, I continued with my tutorial. When shooting waterfalls, you don't want harsh, bright sunlight. You want cloudy skies with diffused light. Under harsh sunlight, you get too much tonal range, which the camera cannot record. Your eyes can see it. The camera will fill in the shadows or blow out the highlights. But in this wonderful soft light, this dark valley with the soft light, it's just perfect conditions for shooting waterfalls. I'm really in my element and enjoying myself. At first, I shot from head height and made a quick reference shot. It was okay. Then I added an ND filter to my lens to slow the shutter speed down to 1/3 of a second and used a cable release to avoid camera shake. I really enjoy blurring the water to show movement in the composition and the stark contrast between hard, immovable rocks versus soft, silky water. Dozens of people arrived, so we retreated downstream to the lower falls. Amazingly, there was no one there except us. While it was tricky to clamber across slippery boulders, I found a satisfactory viewpoint where I could clearly see both cascades. This is my initial wide-angle shot, but it had too much clutter in the foreground. So I zoomed in closer to a focal length of 40mm. This simplified the composition. Using an ND filter, the exposure turned out at 30 seconds. Wonderful. I was very happy with today's efforts. Well, today was great on the Catlins Coast. We started the day really early in the morning at Nugget Point Lighthouse, and we finished the day at McLean Falls. Now we're driving north through Dunedin. We're going to stay the night at Moeraki, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I wake up early enough to shoot the Moeraki boulders. Have a good night. If you would like to explore Ray's photography course, click the yellow button, or watch the next episode, where Ray looks for new ways to capture the iconic Moeraki boulders. Then Ray and his wife visit the quirky Steampunk Museum in Oamaru, and the new subdivision in Timaru with their name on it.